Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. At NARA Coaching, Zelle focuses on assisting women in overcoming challenges related to new cultures, careers, and life events. Her own journey from a senior procurement executive in Fortune 500 companies in the Philippines to becoming a U.S.-based entrepreneur has provided her with unique insights. Her mission is to establish a supportive community for the Asian diaspora, offering coaching and guidance in a landscape where such resources are uniquely needed. So, folks, we are in for a treat today. Thank you, Zelle, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jenny.
I wish I had you in my corner when I was young and trying to be established. Because, you know, it's very obvious I'm Asian, even though my name is Jewish. It's very obvious. And I always struggled when I was much younger being outside of the stereotype of the Asian woman being, you know, pleasant and accommodating and not bossy and not assertive. Tell us what brought you to this life passion right now, like what you're focused, like how did you?
Well, that's a very good introduction, Jenny, I have to say. And I'm now thinking where do I start, right? So I just when we met, I moved here to the US 9 years ago. So it was a very impactful time for me because that was just like a border of who I was and who I am now, right? Back home, if I say I come from the Philippines, back home, I know my flow. You know, I know who I am. I'm unstoppable. I'm basically like in my territory where I know how to get ahead. Okay, I'm assertive more than normal than other Filipinas. I break barriers, I break the glass ceilings, and I've been in a procurement senior role for quite some time that I've dominated the stage in global conferences when it comes to procurement. And that I know very well. I know it very well. Now, I met my husband unexpectedly, by the way. You know, we fell in love. And that very year, 2015, he asked me to join him here in the States. Excited, like, oh my God, of course, I would. But it was anxiety attack as well, right? And well, am I willing to be leaving everything behind and then come here in this new country and then be feeling like, I have to say, the fear of, do I even belong here? Right? Yes, like what you said, your stereotype as an Asian, meek and mild, but I am not like that back home. And now I'm feeling like I'm in the same rosters of Asians who feel like they have to prove themselves, have to start over again, proving themselves and trying to have a purpose and belong and have that sense of belonging here, you know? And I had that passion where, you know what, I have to be who I am before and be that person and even better here. Because I brought me here, you see, and bringing me here means I have more to offer than what I'm stereotyped for. So now I pivoted, I became an entrepreneur, didn't realize I'll be that. I work with my husband, we have a business, we have successful exits. Then I have moment where I said, after just figuring out from being career oriented to now being an entrepreneur, and that was a big change for me. And again, figuring out what do I want to do. And I've been very grateful for the opportunity to prove my skills can be of use to this business, and it thrived. That I can also reach out to someone like me. My husband asked me, like, you're looking for some purpose. Who do you want to help? And I said, I want to help me. 8 years ago, 7 years ago, I had no one to talk to. I have no network. I have no friends. And I was just working. And I feel like there are women like me who moved to a new country and who've been successful before, but couldn't find the confidence or nor the identity to see, like, who am I going to be here? And that's become my passion now, my mission, to help and reach that we are indeed powerful Asian women, and we can be that. And we are not just like what you said before when we spoke during cocktail. We're not like looked into like it's service, because we are a model minority. Let's say it out loud. We are a model minority.
Yes.
And we don't show that enough, right? That we are assertive too.
I'm sorry. Like, I've raised two children who know when mommy's perfect face comes on, heads are gonna roll. People are not familiar with that. There is a stereotype about the dragon woman, and she's this evil thing with long nails, and she's always associated with like the gang people or drugs, right? 'Cause this is the stereotypes that I grew up. I'm 55, and I came to the States when I was in 1970s. Yeah. And I've noticed that people, a lot of situations when I would try and exert myself, it would throw people for a loop. I used to do occupational therapy in New York City. I worked for a very prominent rehabilitation center. They asked me to work in cardiac rehab. So they gave me a whole department to work with. And one of the people in another department, he was head of another department. I'm trying to be kind and protect his identity. He was really mean to me. He would undermine me. He would set up booby traps. He would push me to lose my temper. He would set it up so a doctor saw it. It was a very hard year of working at that prominent rehabilitation center, because I was trying to exert myself. And at that time, I wasn't married yet, and I hadn't really stepped into my power. I grew up in the States and was always fighting the stereotypes, and eventually I just said, I'm not going to work here anymore. I don't need this job that much. And then we found out later that the head of occupational therapy at that hospital told them, this other cardiac department, why did you do that? She was one of our best therapists. How dare you treat her that way, that she left? And no one else lasted as long as I did after a year. And I guess what I would love, because I'm sure even today, many of our audience members are in situations like that. Like, what would you recommend for them to do instead of just putting up with it? What are some ways that someone could immediately implement standing up for themselves and feeling empowered?
When you were telling me that story, thank you for that question, Jenny. When you're telling me that story, I can't help but remember a time where my son, having his first year here in grade 2, has to be on IEP because he's on the spectrum. And I had to fight. You know what IEP is? You have to fight and be more assertive. And I'm Asian there. I felt like, are they somehow discriminating me, subtly? And the more that they felt that it is, the more that I became assertive. So in my personal experience, I would say that what drove me to be more assertive is the fact that I have in my head that I have the full right to be where I am as much as anyone else. Okay. And I know it can be unfair when there is this judgment and there is this impression or perception of my race or our race when it comes to not everywhere, but certain areas that I am more assertive to say, look, I'm going to prove them wrong. I like to surprise people. I will not make them realize they are right all along. So the element of surprise or surprising others is what drives me. Some people are motivated by that, but you see, motivation is more external, right? I see it, and then that motivates me to do something about it by being more, I'm going to prove you wrong. But internally, you know, I did not come this far for myself to just be treated this way. And that's what inspires me, that's coming from within. So that's what I say. We have different values, we have different upbringing, but all our parents did was work for us to be where we are or be better than them. It's such, for me, it's such a disservice to be acting like you were not reared up to be who you are. You know, a name in the world and a place in this new country. So the more I'm challenged, the more I prove them wrong. And what could possibly go wrong, right?
I love
That's
that.
what I think.
I love that, Zelle. There is a reminder, my wonderful audience, that no one can make you feel a certain way without your own permission.
Mm-hmm.
It is essential that we know we're deserving of being treated a certain way. Oftentimes, I have to talk to my children because my kids were born here in this country, and because they're mixed, oftentimes they're not white enough or they're not Asian enough. And I always tell them what's important is how you feel about yourself first, that you are worthy, and then understand in certain situations, because of the way they present physically, they will look or be expected to be better or overachieving or be perfect compared to other people where they wouldn't have to try as hard. And I ask them, you don't always have to go to that expectation. You can sit in your worthiness where you are right now. Like you could sit there and do nothing and you are worthy.
Yeah.
Right. And
Exactly.
I did not grow up with that. I mean, you know, my mom, my parents were immigrants from Taiwan, and they were peasants. Like we're good old strong farmer folk. There's no, we didn't come from aristocracy, rich people. It was all like we were really poor. And there is this integral belief system. I think it's almost handed down in our DNA. You know, your worthiness is tied into how hard you work.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And I'm like, can we get rid of that for a second? Because we're surrounded by people who don't expect it of themselves, yet they expect it of me because somehow I bought into that too. And I want us to kind of stop that because
That's true.
we are worthy of having an equal seat at the table, just being who we are.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's aren't you wondering why that is, right? I mean, demographics wise, right? We when we had our boat clubs for serve, we have presence in New York and Connecticut, and we have hundreds and hundreds of members. I guess you know this already, Jenny, that the higher paying members that we have are mostly Asians because they're hardworking, like what you said. They have to do more and they get more. And but they hold themselves and they also carry themselves with more like dignity. You see, they're less egoistic, they're proud of who they become. But when it comes to your seat on the table, why does it matter to us if we are like we're too we're too humble, you know, we're too like I'm not probably good enough, we're not boastful, right?
Well, yeah.
Never shy, right?
Okay, so
And why is that?
I think it's multi-leveled.
Hmm.
When I first came to this country, I was 6 years old, and I had a lot of trauma being raised in an Asian household that I brought with me to this country. And it was associated with safety is tied in, and I think this is a lot of cultures. Safety is tied in with usefulness. If you were useful, you were valued. That's one layer.
Yeah, true.
And then the other layer is that, in this country, in the United States, during one of our world wars, we fought against the country of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Japan attacked the shores of this country. And so everybody was up in arms, worried about the Asian. We all got lumped into one. It didn't matter if you're Korean
Got it.
or
Yeah.
Taiwanese. We all were thought to be Japanese, and that was it. And there were Japanese internment camps, and people's properties were taken away. And hundreds of thousands of Asian presenting people were locked away and jailed, right? And then there was another narrative invented during that time, where instead of Asian presenting people being this evil force, we were turned into this image of the model minority. We were safe because we were useful. They took advantage of that cultural aspect. So we're expected to always be acquiescent. If we get
Yeah.
loud, though, we're not welcomed at the table. We're only allowed if we pay attention to the rules.
It's like saying, well, someone needs to work.
Yeah.
And and that's what they are for, right? You don't see us, you're correct. You don't see us doing all these strikes. You don't see us or you don't hear Asians like going on, hey, you have abused Asians, especially during the Asian hate time during the pandemic, right?
That's still happening right now on the
Which
West
is
Coast, I mean,
oh, very, very sad.
yeah, it is. And yet, at the same time, I will say we're getting much more verbal, you know? I think
Yeah.
10 years ago, I wouldn't have talked about half the things I spoke of today because I'm seeing a lot of other people unafraid to voice that this type of things are not acceptable anymore. They're
Yeah.
not, right? And we are allowed to disagree with the status quo and say we're not going to abide by that anymore. Healing is part of healing is to use our voice.
Yeah. It is. It is. And I see that you can see it lately, right? There are many Asians now who are winning Emmys, winning the Oscars, or I mean, those are the celebrity Asians, but there are more coming into play now and putting their, as assertively getting for what they are worth for, and you mentioned about we both are mothers, right? I was going to also reflect on what you said earlier. You have twins, I have a son, and we also want to be a role model for them, right? That's why amidst all this, we have this dual role of explaining, hey, this is the history, but then you have to understand you have equal rights, you can get your seat at the table. And I could imagine, Jenny, how it is. You're Asian and you're a woman.
Uh-huh.
How is it for you, right?
Mhm.
It's a double challenge,
It
right?
really is. During the lockdown, which I affectionately call the panini. During the lockdown in my personal dance community, there was a coming to terms that it was dominated by people who were not people of color, like in this country. All of our top paid, most
Mm.
famous people were, white women. And a lot of stories came out from source dancers who came from Turkey, Egypt, Morocco, or they could trace the lineage back to that in the realm of dance, because American belly dance borrows a lot from other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, oh, yeah, for years I've always been ignored. And there was a huge blow up about that, right?
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and ironically, during those times, because I look young, right? So I literally got lectures from people about racism, and I was like, "Boo! I grew up in it before you were born." And it was really interesting that some of the people whose rights I was fighting for in the belly dance community, the racism they experienced was nothing compared to the level I went through in the 70s. So it's just really interesting, right? Because depending on how old you are, audience, that is, you have your own different layer of things you're fighting for and things you're learning to grow into.
Yeah. And that is what's making me be more inspired of what I do. Right? I see all these wonderful Asian women who probably moved here or been here or was here when they were still young. Either way, we share the same cultural nuances, right? And I could just see so much power if all of us were supportive of each other too, right? Like what we are doing now, Jenny is a good example of how we support
Yeah.
Asian women to another Asian woman because there's also, it's a community that makes you feel stronger and propels you, right? I feel confident enough to like understand how it is. And I learn more about what's going on here just from your stories, right? I wasn't here in the 70s, but you were. And you were just telling me like this could have been harder. But here you are. As I've known you, you're a survivor. You have many pets, as I've come to know. You are an awarded dancer true to your craft. Okay. Also in the same intercultural marriage as I am, right? And yet we're here talking about this empowerment that we want to reach out and share and invite other Asian women to be in the same know about how powerful, like what you said, the superpower that you have, being Asian, because we have done so much, even though it's a nuances of, let's say we're very just hardworking or being of service because that has been our identity from generations in the past. But what they are the same things that make us more successful than everyone else.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So, audience, listen, before we get sidetracked, I want to make sure that we follow up on what Zelle is saying. You need community. You want to make sure that you're always getting props from people behind you in your corner. It can be very lonely trying to be more assertive and or sit in your confidence that you are deserving,
Yes.
right? So I want to make sure that you go to Zelle's website. It is naracoaching.com. It's NARRA coaching.com, and go and explore the website to see what ways you can work with Zelle. You can even book a call where they're there, right, Zelle?
Yes. Yes. So I have clients that came for my help, and they're of different nature. Like someone came in because she's Korean and she recently lost her mom. So in a grieving stage, and how would she transition to, now that she's alone with no parents, how would she transition to her passion?
Yes.
And some were coming from, how do I want to change career? I want to be from this to be a doctor at my age, midlife.
Yes.
And there are different kinds of transition, just not only about moving to a new country. And I know, like for me, my story, Jenny, as you know, I moved into this country. That's a major transition. I have a new marriage interculturally. That's a new transition. Married into a blended family, a very big transition. And also, I'm from an employee from corporate to an entrepreneur, and now a coach is a lot of big transitions, and that happened midlife.
Yes.
That's all happened midlife. So no one can judge whether a transition is small or big for anyone to assess. But if there's something that's limiting someone from getting to the next step, like you're doubting whether you can even be that new person that you wanted to be, whether you can even go through the whole transition
Yes.
of your life, then you need someone to talk to, not because you don't have friends, but because it's different when you're able to talk to someone who's just going to be there to not judge you, but listen to you and
Yeah.
help you
Yes.
and give you the skill set and strategies. Because friends can be friends, family are families, but they have their biases. Let's face it, right?
Yeah.
They know you for so long, they will tell you, oh, I know you should do this. And not discounting religion or personal development stories, but what the coach helps us in any way, and you are a coach as well, Jenny, right? It's the accountability, right? You wanted to be reminded what your goals are. And it's hard when you're self-coaching yourself, right?
Oh, well, yeah, we always have the best advice for everybody else but ourselves. Like, come on, that's
Correct.
the truth, You can even go on Instagram to Zelle's Instagram account at
Yes.
NARA, NARRA Coaching, right? And
Yes.
check her out more. And then if you're even hesitating, go to my free class at danceandheal.com. Do some of those exercises. And you're going to feel in your body how quickly you want to get in touch with Zelle. Because here's the thing. You want community. You want to shift out of where your life is right now, right? And we're asking you, book a call with Zelle. Take up my class. And then that's going to open up more venues for you. I think sometimes, right, we'll lock ourselves into a corner and not even realize it.
Yeah. And like what you said, Jenny, you're on dance, right? Ask yourself dance to heal. And transition or change is like a new dance floor.
Yes.
You have to find your rhythm again, right? You have to find, it's okay to lose some steps, but eventually you'll have your flow.
Yes.
That's exactly how everything like this flow together.
Yes.
It's a complementary approach to life, because you Jenny is an epitome of how this helped you go through your cancer survival, right? Which is a very big thing, very, very admirable, and it takes quite a spirit to do that. And I know a lot of people will be happy to learn more about how you healed yourself through that.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we all have our own stories behind the scenes, right? Everybody is a hero. We don't always broadcast it, but no, Zelle and I see you, and we know what's happening behind the scenes for you because we put up that brave front. And I want to ask you, audience, it's okay to ask for help. Zelle does lives on her Instagram where they just give you free pointers. Like, make sure you check those out. Thank you so much for coming today, Zelle. I think we're going to have to come back.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Talk some more, okay?
Yes, of course. More than happy to do that for you.
Wonderful. All right, audience. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit outsideinrecovery.com. Are you ready to move?